Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another IcyCast with myself, John McKellar of Icebox Glasgow, and of course, Jamie McDermid. Jamie, how you doing, mate?
How you doing? How you doing, everybody? Yep.
We're doing Names of Games. It's episode 4 of Names of Games, and tonight we're covering the letter D, which of course is the fourth letter of the alphabet. Before we get into that, let's talk about last night, mate. Let's talk about yesterday evening and our adventures in Airdrie. Jamie very kindly agreed to come along or be dragged along to Excelsior Stadium, home of Airdrieonians FC, for Airdrie v Hearts in the Scottish Cup. Why don't you tell Jamie, the listeners and the viewers, about that experience?
It was shite, mate. It was utterly shite. The crowds, the actual, the game itself. Not wrong with the game itself. We had a good view in the three places that we were thrust into. That one of the places was meant to be. Security didn't know what was happening. The very first guy we actually spoke to there was like, "Shit show, wait, fucking free for all. Just go where you want." There was too many people in. It was jam packed. For me anyway, it was definitely the stage where this is dangerously full of people. Nobody can move up and down the aisles. Up at the back in the stand where it's supposed to be free as well, so you can move about. It was just packed with people. There were some seats that, in fact, quite a few seats runners that had like double the people in them. I'd be very surprised if there isn't a complaint in by Hearts to the SFA about the game. To me, it looked like because they'd shut off the back stands, nobody in it. They just basically ushered everybody into that one bit, and it was a shambles. It really was a crushing disaster waiting to happen. Honestly, if everybody came out there at one time, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like we were talking about surmising that maybe folk had been printing fake tickets or something like that, because like we noticed there were no QR codes on the tickets. It was just the old style kind of like put it in and then the steward takes it and lets you through. And it seemed like
when
there was
we
just
handed in a ticket at the door under that wee booth thing when we were getting through the turnstiles, the lassie just grabbed the ticket off me, tore it, gave it back, and that was it. She didn't even look at it. She just wanted people in. Do you know what I mean? So, and at that point, the police were outside and they were kind of pushing people in and stuff. It kind of reinforced my experiences and why I shouldn't be going to football games, to be honest with you. So it felt that part of me again. That needs to not be with big crowds of people because I hate people. So
I didn't enjoy it either for all the reasons you mentioned. I thought the police didn't exactly help matters either. They were they had their back up for the word go. It didn't seem like it didn't seem like there was any trouble about to kick off for that, but they were kind of like being all like fucking right, you go there and you go there and fucking and like crowding around people with their batons out and all that, and it was like you're kind of jumping the shark a wee bit. There was one of them had his face covered and all that as well. Like one of the police. It's like, what are you fucking
casuals.
doing?
They had to move on the casuals before they let everybody in. But it was like 4 guys in Stone Island coats. It was fucking nuts. It really was. There was no real threat there. So I seen the police like actually opening up other buttons. You're like, oh, what the fuck is going on here? It's like they were creating a problem basically. There's a lot better ways for the police to deal with stuff. But we're in Scotland. It is a football game. I think the police like to keep fit, get a wee bit of exercise during the games. So that'll pay for them.
Yeah, it was frustrating. We didn't get in until about 8 minutes into the first half. Then Hearts went up 3-0 quite early, and then gave away a soft goal toward the end of the second half, the end of the first half. By which point we were just ready to go home. We actually did boost at half time. We just got picked up and left at half time because the situation in the stands was just it was uncomfortable. It was really anxiety inducing.
Yeah, when you've got security up, like security literally kept coming up saying you can't stop in the aisles, boys, stay in the aisles.
Where can we go then?
Where to fucking go? And he gave me that look as if, I don't know, it's not my problem. Well, I mean, you're directing us to do something that we can't actually do. And there was people with like really young children there that were also forced to stand in the aisles with folk constantly getting past them with like cups of fucking tea and coffee and all that as well. and just barging past folk. A lot of drunk folk as well, get up and down these stairs, barging past.
Aye, if you're
It's
a lot of folk in that stand as well were in no fit state to be there. They shouldn't have been let in because they were too drunk, far too rowdy. It was a shambles.
So I fuck
good
the Excelsior Park.
Good result from my perspective because it ended up 4-1 Hearts, and that was good because obviously I'm a Hearts supporter. But I'll probably stick to home games moving forward because at least when I go to Tynecastle, I know that there's a competency level at least in the home end at Tynecastle that I can expect when I go to games.
Yeah,
that just wasn't there. So yeah, I'll probably just stick to that. I was looking for a kicky ball podcast. Is this it? Says Reservoir Drugs.
this is a kicky ball.
Yeah,
one,
this is the Icebox football fucking wrap up. You'll be pleased to know that we are moving on from that shit show. It was a great result, but a shite experience. Do you know what's annoying? Right, one last point on it. The Excelsior Stadiums are no bad wee park. If they had ran it properly, it would have been a right good place to watch a game of football. It just wasn't poorly. It was poorly run.
You know where a good place to watch a game of football is, John? In a fucking pub. In a fucking pub, which is where I'll be going to the next time to watch a game of football. It's a classics. Just stick to the classics, John.
Yeah, fair enough, man. That's fine. We'll watch the Greenock Morton v Hearts in the pub then.
You're fucking right, I will.
All right, let's move on then. What's the latest news on Soundbooth and Bloodbath Burlesque? Has there been any movement?
I mean, it's just like it's only a few days after you last asked me, mate. There's no been like nothing gets done in a few days in this. Like absolutely nothing gets done in a few days in this. It's just the new. It's literally it was very easy to get in contact with people originally, and at the start, but like since Christmas, like January and February is a fucking nightmare. January is literally trying to get people to meet up with you as Blood for a Stone. This is me, like I said, just get the bands not involved now. And there was emails going out to a couple of the bands a day actually. A couple of new tunes came in. Test the Waters sent a brand new tune into me today.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to listen to that right after this podcast actually. It's unreleased, but they're talking about releasing it like exclusively with the film possibly. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes and see the actual tune itself fits in with it. Test the Waters are a great band. They really are. They're an amazing band. And their stuff has always got a kind of, their music videos have always had a touch of kind of original horror to it as well.
So they did it was them that did Man Children a few years
back.
Man
Children, aye, which is a horror video, which is fucking great.
That video was that was mental, that video.
Well, I was actually asking them about Man Children. That's the song that I had in my head to play. I quite wanted that for the film, but I trust their judgment and a new sending through a new track. They seem to think it's probably a better fit. Gary's read the script in it as well, so I'll have a listen to that later.
It's going to be a freeform jazz cover, Cotton Eye Joe in it.
Mate, the weirder the better. See, but that's fucking delightful for me. So I'm up for
that. That's cool, man. So other than that, not a lot going on in the film front.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Speaking of films, we should probably point out that so next week's scheduled episode of the podcast was the Greasy Strangler review. But for various reasons that I don't think we'll get into here, we're probably not going to be able to do that this week. So we'll probably just have to sort of figure out what to do next week and do a live one next Monday. But in the meantime, we'll probably
just have a sneaky special. Just say we're not going to tell people what it's about until you actually come on to see it.
Yeah.
We can cover like a few different things on Monday. Let's do a wee surprise for them. Just do a live chat.
Yeah. We're just going to sit in the scud.
That's it. Or get a couple of folk to pose what we should talk about.
I mean, actually, we should just put it out there and say if you're watching this either live or on demand or listening to this on the Patreon version of the podcast, comment.
I mean, you need to stop putting it out there, John. There was a court case about that. Please stop.
I was found innocent of all charges, mate. So, up you. I allegedly put it out there, mate.
Yeah,
like, you have to say allegedly.
Fair. So we'll just say that. We'll put a wee hang up.
Yeah.
Anybody that's listening as well, feel free to ask us if there's anything that you think we should discuss, no matter how crazy it is. long as it's not too crazy, then we'll
It's
get
no
in there.
Hamilton this time.
Yeah, that's it. No,
Just
no
as long as it's no
Hamilton.
Hamilton this time. But yeah, do give us a comment underneath the video, or send us a message and tell us what you want us to discuss next Monday, because we're not going to be able to do the Greasy Strangler. There's unforeseen family circumstances that have. Hamilton says Reservoir Dogs.
No,
Well, we
fuck
already
them.
covered the town. We already covered the town. Maybe we should do the town in Canada.
Jesus, aye, there's probably other Hamiltons. That's true.
We'll just look for Linda Hamilton.
Yep.
We stay an entire episode on Linda Hamilton. But yeah, comment. Tell us what we should do next week, because we're going to have to postpone the Greasy Strangler one, because the plan with that was that we are going to do it together. We're going to watch the Greasy Strangler together and then immediately record our thoughts right afterwards. So, and I don't think that something as weird as that works any other way. So we're just going to have to postpone it, and we'll put that off until a couple of weeks down the line. But tell us, what should we be talking about next Monday night at 9 o'clock? In the meantime, let's talk about, we're here to talk about tonight, mate. We're talking about names of games, and it's the letter D.
Yeah.
I want you to start off with Death Trap Dungeon, which I believe is a PlayStation 1 game.
Yep, Death Trap Dungeon, PlayStation 1. I'm not sure. I was out on PC as well. Actually, didn't know that. This is, if you remember your books, remember your Fighting Fantasy books, Ian Livingston, I think it was.
Yeah.
You go like.
Yeah, I think it's actually called Ian Livingston's Death Trap
Is that the name
Dungeon.
of the game? Oh, so it is. Yeah, you're right.
I think it is.
Well, it's a game based on the book, essentially. So in the book, it's one of these choose your own adventure type things. You've got the dice. You fill in the wee bits at the start of the book. Although I don't like people doing that, because get a different bit of fucking paper today. You know what I mean? Don't deface the book. This one instead is like a third-person action adventure. Again, you pick, like a lot of these types of games, you pick who you go. It can be, if you prefer like long range stuff, it's a wizard. You prefer getting in about the action, it's a barbarian or the Amazon. I always go the barbarian, just like a wee bit of fighting. It's because it's the PS1, it's got that classic kind of blocky feel. You know what always reminds me of, see when I'm thinking back on it, actually reminds me of Nightmare. Remember Nightmare you see on the telly?
Yeah,
it kind of reminds me of like a live, like an actual like gameplay version of that. It's got that kind of very feel to it. Everything's very pixely and blocky on it. It's like it's a really good game. It stands up. I actually kind of played it recently. Had it on an emulator, so I had a wee shot out in the PC. I think you can still download it for Steam if you're that way inclined, folks. I would definitely suggest getting it.
Let me have a look. Actually, Death Trap Dungeon.
It might be on Steam. I remember it was a really good game.
Yeah, indeed, you can. You can pick up Ian Livingston's Death Trap Dungeon on Steam for £4.99.
There you go.
And
there you go. It'd be worth it for that. It definitely would be worth it for that.
Looking at the screenshots, I can definitely see where you're coming from. It does have that kind of nightmare turn of the 90s, like augmented reality game feel to it.
I just remembered you would go into like a room, again, much like the book, you would go into like a room in it. You'd be in this very square dungeony type room. It maybe either have a couple of baddies in it, or it would have like a baddie and a couple of puzzles. There would always be something in each room, and then you'd get down the corridor into another room. A lot of fighting, a lot of skeletons, that kind of stuff you're up against. I was just, when you said the pictures, I actually had to look at some pictures in it. It looks like there's also dinosaurs in it, which is awesome.
I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? If you go through it into a game, get some fucking dinosaurs in there, that's what I say.
So
Death Trap Dungeon, always a favourite. Like, it definitely is. It's a favourite of mine. It's been a favourite of mine for years. The first two games I got for the PS1 back in the day when I got one was Evil Dead and Death Trap Dungeon. And I would have them both up there as my favourites.
I've never played Death Trap Dungeon. Death Trap Dungeon, I should say. I should swallow my cranberry just before I start speaking.
You should, mate. Aye.
For what I can tell there, it looks like something I would probably enjoy, because it kind of gives me the vibe of, it's like a fantasy version of the early Tomb Raider games.
No, it's got the same. Actually, you're probably like nailing heat there. Like the actual character, you see them close up in that as well. It's very Tomb Raider. A lot of the gameplay, a lot of the kind of the running, it's like almost platforming in some of the rooms you go into because you have to kind of climb up bits of the wall, and that is also very kind of Tomb Raidery. I'm pretty sure there's a pointy boobed Amazon in it as well, much like Tomb Raider. So
it was the 90s.
It was, and it kind of ticked all the boxes for young guys getting games, basically.
Yeah.
I honestly, I would suggest anybody else in this, just download it, go and have a shot at it. If you don't like it, you can swear at me online, and it only set you back like fucking $4.99. Put it this way, it starts as it goes on, so you could play it for half an hour. If you don't like it, just get the refund.
Yeah.
So don't keep it for all the time. Yeah, if you love it, you're going to love it as soon as you start playing it. So that's my number one, Death Trap Dungeon. Get in there.
Perfect, man. My first one I'm going to mention is Death Stranding. Obviously, it was Hideo Kojima's first game after he unceremoniously exited from Konami's structure and started his own independent studio. So obviously, he got this agreement made with Sony to release a PlayStation exclusive, and it turned out to be Death Stranding, which is kind of genre bending, but it's sort of like an action adventure / elements of a walking simulator to it. It's also very cinematic in the kind of way that you would imagine a Hideo Kojima game would be.
Yeah,
it's got an all-star cast. It's got Norman Reedus as the main character, the dude who played Daryl in The Walking Dead. It's got like Mads Mikkelsen is in it as well as one of the main characters.
I like him.
And it's got such a crazy story, but see, once you've played through it a few times and you start to like understand it, it's really good. Some of the best acting that I've ever seen in a video game. Probably the best single scene of acting of all time in a computer game, in my opinion, is Tommy Earl Jenkins toward the end of the game. He plays Die Hardman, a character. Right. They have quite interesting names in the post-apocalypse, apparently.
Right,
You've got Dead Man, Die Hardman, Heartman.
I mean, it just sounds like I'm not really trying anymore. I guess it's the apocalypse. You don't really have to try that much. So
yeah, it's one of the weird ones where it's like Hideo Kojima does that kind of stuff. Like there was a character in Walker called Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker called Hot Coldman. He just like it's almost as if he throws it in the towel half the time when it comes to like he writes these amazing iconic characters, and then when it comes time to naming them, he's like, I don't know, man. He's got a heart condition. Call him Heartman. You know what I mean?
Just Heartman. That's it.
Yeah, but it's a great game. Like I think people who called it a glorified walking simulator really did it an injustice. It's one of the most unique games that you'll play. Because like the basic kind of premise of it is that you're a courier and you deliver parcels to people. There's obstacles around the world that you have to overcome in different various ways. But
is that like traffic lights and stuff, mate? Aye.
Well, no, it's more these things called BTs, which are like dead things that, because of the Death Stranding, have managed to escape through their plane, which is called the beach, into the real world, or into our world at least. And if you touch them, or if they consume a human being, they cause what's called a void out, which is a crater, which is akin to that which would be left by a nuclear bomb. So you have to be careful. Great game.
Part 2, that's why you looks it.
It is, and the trailer's just bonkers, and I love it.
Yeah, I've actually. Well, you see, I watched it. Like I've got to say, I've never played the first game. I caught the trailer of part 2. Just it'll be yesterday or the day before. In fact, it was a couple of days ago. Actually, caught it on YouTube. So I watch this. The trailer it runs like a wee movie trailer.
9 minutes long. Yeah.
I was about to say it's fucking. It goes on for quite a while. And it looks good. It looks excellent. I see what you mean about the kind of acting in that in it as well. The characters seem a bit chaotic, but certainly well-rounded enough. They're worth watching. I mean, I'd play that. If that's a kind of basis of the first game, I'd definitely play that. So,
yeah, I mean, I've got a PS4 copy kicking about that I can loan you in the meantime, so that you can get up to speed. I would definitely recommend it. It's got a crazy, crazy story, but it's so mind-bendingly amazing.
How long the runtime for the game, do you think? How long did it take you today?
So the quickest I've ever finished it in was about 18 hours.
Fucking hell.
That was basically just kind of cutting out all the bullshit. My save that 100%ed was well into the 150 region of hours when I platinumed it. So it's either like your standard 20-hour game if you just play through the story, or it can be a bit of a time sink if you get obsessed with it like I did. But yeah, I'll loan you, and we'll see which camp you end up falling into.
Yeah,
And the
cool.
next one you wanted to do was Donkey Kong, an iconic character from Nintendo. I believe that the first Donkey Kong was that Super Nintendo, or was it before then?
I don't know. You know what? I don't actually know. I think it was. Because there we go. Here we are. So the one I'm actually going with is the arcade one. So I'm talking about
Right.
mid to late
Oh
80s.
fuck!
1994 is Super Nintendo, aye, and Game Boy
Aye.
Advance.
Yeah. So it was for in the arcade for like about a decade then, and
But-
then eventually came to.
Yeah,
Oh no,
but
there
to
was
be
one on
fair,
the NES.
that's Donkey Kong Country. So that's no Donkey Kong.
Mm-hmm.
It says here Donkey Kong was arcade, ColecoVision, Game and Watch. Fuck knows what that is.
Right.
And that's 1981, which is actually a wee bit older than I thought it was, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I actually see what they're talking about now. See it came out in a wee handheld, a wee orange kind of handheld, which are
Yeah, I can
stupidly
see that.
yeah, they're like 200 odd quid on eBay just now.
Oh really?
Fucking ridiculous, aye. So I had it. Again, go back to the bars when I was a kid. They had the arcade down there that had a lot of kind of. See, thinking back now, see that the stuff they had was worth a feckin' fortune now because it was back then. It was kind of vintage. They'd obviously got a lot of their stuff cheap because it was older, but it wasn't old enough to be collectible at that point. It's only now it's probably worth a fortune. Well, there you go. There's an original Donkey Kong cabinet here for £4,500. So, in fact, that's just a replica commercial arcade cabinet. So,
Fuck's sake.
fake knows how much they're going for me, honestly. But I played the original one and I just found it was addictive, but it was probably addictive because it was so frustrating. I'm not even sure how many levels it was. Never completed it. I never had the coinage to get through it. It just seemed to get faster and faster and faster. And it's one of these just kind of constant manic games where you're just, again, you're running up the wee bits with the barrels rolling down, and he's just fucking scouting them at you, mate. Like a mental case. I thought it was fun.
Which incidentally is something you have to contend with on the way in and out of the bars sometimes.
As just people throwing things at you, yay! As you run at them, because you go to run at them. So, I thought it was a great game. It's so simple. There was probably a lot of games very much like it that came out after it. Again, it's not really that hard to, loads of guys. Nintendo corporate guys are sitting on a table, obviously full of cocaine. They're like, right, what we should do next? Just get somebody else throwing shit at people, and then you just try and avoid it and run up. I loved it. But it was very much a coin muncher, like your original Streets of Rage and stuff as well. They were so much harder playing them in the arcades than they were playing them on the game system.
I got a Mega Games cartridge last week for my Mega Drive that's got Streets of Rage 1 on it. It's got Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, and Revenge of Shinobi, I think.
Yeah, Revenge of Shinobi's good. I love that game. That's a really good game
Hard
as well.
Fuck, though.
Aye. But again, playing at the arcade, fucking twice, 3 times harder, honestly. Because at the end of the day, they're made to eat your money.
Yeah, you mind that night we went to Super Mario last year and we fought each other at Mortal Kombat, and I think I fucking decked you.
No, you did. You destroyed me. I'm not very good at fighting games.
Because for one, you were pissed, and two, I don't think you touched a fighting game in years. But then I was like, right, cool, I'll have a go at the fucking single player.
Yeah, and who was it?
Who was it I fought first, and they just fucking malkied me in like seconds. I was like, all right, well, that's a quid I'm not going to get back.
What was it? What was the game that I did excel at? Was it a Baywatch?
Baywatch pinball.
Pinball. You know what? If you're going to go into a place drunk, that's what you're going to play. Is Baywatch pinball, and it kept playing the same bit of tune on the loop. And it go right in your head. It kind of drove me mad a wee bit. So,
I remember I went for a piss at one point, and then the second I opened the bathroom door to come back upstairs, I just heard it
Yeah,
loop back on again. I was like, "Fuck me, man! It's just
yeah.
take me to this place."
It's just to be what soundtrack earlier again, but
It is, aye.
it was only like
It's only
a
a clip of
20-second
it,
clip.
aye.
That's it.
Yeah. Is
No,
it
I love that. That's
Anime?
it. That's the one. And then it just went on again.
Yeah.
And even that, like
Awful.
I remember it was like 80 million or something stupid like that.
Oh,
And
it
I'm
was
like,
crazy.
that's
Aye.
worthless. It's just useless
And
to
I
me. I
go,
don't go that
and I
means.
go, you got that, and I go, I think like 2 million.
Aye.
Like it wasn't
But
even close.
I don't even know if it's good or bad, mate. I don't think I go on the scoreboard. So I'm like, is
No.
that even good? Is John just terrible at this game? And I look good at it now. So anyway, so that was a segue. Aye, original Donkey Kong, good game. Get that. Absolutely. Donkey Kong, the remakes, or not even the remakes, the newer ones, Donkey Kong Country and that, and Donkey Kong 3D, they're good games as well. But if you want something that's kind of frantic and manic, I go with the original. Absolutely.
I think I'll probably pick up Donkey Kong 64 at some point because I've never played Donkey Kong. I was always made a Sega guy, so
Donkey Kong's good, but it's just very reminiscent of that type of game. There's loads of games like that in the Sega and that as well. Again, it is good, but it never really grabbed me as much as the original one. So, aye, that's my second.
My second one's Detroit Become Human. I don't know if you played that.
No.
But it's, I think it might have been a PlayStation exclusive, actually. It did eventually get released on PC. But Detroit Become Human is like for the same studio that did the Quantic Dream, the studio that made Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. They did something else before that, and I think it might have been Fahrenheit. But don't quote me on that. I might be wrong about that because the first one of their games I played was Heavy Rain. I really enjoyed Heavy Rain when I played it on the PS3 in 2010. I don't think it's aged well. There's like lots of glaring plot holes in that game that I'll save for another day. But like, so that game pretty interesting because obviously it's one of them where it's like a cinematic game, and you make choices for the character where they go or what they do.
You're in a noir thriller,
essentially, yeah. Whereas, so that one, it's like a detective type thriller. Beyond Two Souls is kind of like a paranormal spin on that.
Right.
Whereas Detroit Become Human is this story where you play as three different main characters, and all three of them are androids. And it's one of these things where like androids are used as like help or used as like, one of them is like a housekeeper android, one of them is like a carer android, and one of them is an android that works for like the cops, as like he's almost like a Blade Runner because he hunts down what are called deviant androids. So if androids kind of go bad, he's like the deviant hunter. So he's almost like a Blade Runner in that sense.
Okay.
And so you play at different points of the story as these three characters, and the decisions that you make as these characters decide the plot of the game and where it goes in terms of the ending and stuff like that. Obviously, it follows a set path to an extent.
Yeah.
There's kind of set pieces, and what you do or don't do during the set pieces is how the game will unfold. Graphically outstanding for a 2018. Like it could easily have been a PS5 game. It's insane how good it looks. The acting's really good. I think it's the best. It's the best written out of the three Quantic Dream games that I mentioned. It has its flaws in terms of the story. There are just some clunky bits to it, and then some bits that are just a bit sort of. The game misfires a few times, but that just seems to be something that David Cage is prone to once in a while. Like there's always going to be one or two clunkers of scenes in his games. There's certain things that he just doesn't do well.
Right, okay.
But overall, a really good story. Really, really, really well acted. It's got like Clancy Brown and Lance Henriksen in it. Like again, another like mental cast. So it's got that lassie Minka Kelly as well. The actress Minka Kelly plays like a supporting character. But yeah, a brilliant game.
I guess there's like you're getting a lot of the actors are getting there's good money in games for them, to be honest with you. So good money for very little kind of work that's involved.
Yeah, you're you add name value as well to the game when you're a big actor like that, so you're probably getting
Absolutely.
really good money, and
Yeah.
you don't have to do a lot of physical stuff. And I think RoboCop Rogue City and stuff like that, that's an example of where like an older actor can prolong their career by doing voiceover stuff. You just scan their face, do the voice. Peter Weller, all of a sudden at 70, whatever he is, years old, is RoboCop again.
Aye, that's very good.
And it's like,
You get your Mark
yeah,
Hamill's and stuff. Who Mark Hamill does more voiceover stuff
yeah,
than anything now, and he's fucking excellent at it. So,
yeah,
yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. Who needs to
yeah.
retire? You can just
Weirdly,
sit there and talk into
yeah.
a mic, man.
Weirdly, Mark Hamill is Luke Skywalker, and yet Joker is almost, if not just as iconic as that
Yeah.
character. So that really says it all about voiceover, and if you get the right gig, it can work. But yeah,
Oh,
the
absolutely.
voiceover cast, the acting cast, and Detroit Become Human, similar to Death Stranding, is just a cut above, and it's got some of the best acting that you'll see. Loads of cinematic stuff for me tonight. My next one won't be. I'm going to go back and do a retro one for my next one. But before that, you wanted to do Dungeon Keeper,
Dungeon Keeper, yeah. Not
which is a
Diablo, as I
strategy game.
constantly fucking said. I
Yeah.
kept getting them mixed up. I'm going to go Dungeon Keeper 1 and 2. I know it's bunching them together, but it's that they really fought each other kind of well. Dungeon Keeper 1 and Dungeon Keeper Gold. You go back 1997, Bulldog Productions. This is probably my favourite ever game on a PC. It was one of the only games I actually got right into on a PC and played it for a fucking long time. Now, this is something that even back then playing it, I've just recently downloaded the Dungeon Keeper Gold not that long ago on my laptop again to play because you can just constantly go back and play it. It's essentially a strategy building game. I mean, it's not like Command and Conquer or something. You essentially take out a dungeon, you take out all the monsters in the dungeon, they take out all the traps, you build traps for the heroes coming in, and then the heroes are unleashed in your dungeon, and your job is to kill them all. Obviously, if you're playing the campaign modes, you're up against other dungeon keepers and stuff like that. You've got to train up your monsters. You've got to unleash them on heroes. You get to imprison heroes and they turn into skeletons after they die, and then that's you get an extra scare. There's lots of good kind of fun horror aspects to it as well. Dungeon Keeper 2 kind of added to it. So Dungeon Keeper, Dungeon Keeper 2 is just like a much better version of Dungeon Keeper almost. You get more rooms, more stuff to design, bigger monsters, harder levels. And then there was a Dungeon Keeper 3 that was hinted right at the end of Dungeon Keeper 2. Everybody was in the lookout for this because both of these were massive fucking games. They brought in a lot of cash at the time. Dungeon Keeper 3, sadly, was fucking cancelled after they released gameplay footage and videos of it.
Shit.
Which, you can get the gameplay stuff online. It looks fantastic. But they pulled it because I forget who it is. I'm trying to see. It was Bullfrog that done that. They pulled it because it was going to be up against EA's Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings games.
Right.
So essentially, they shelved it, and because it needed more work after that, and after the Harry Potter games and the Lord of the Rings games came out, there just was so many games like that. Everybody jumped on the back of that, which just kind of fucked Dungeon Keeper 3. Which is a shame because it's a game that's basically built. Like
That is a pain in the arse, man.
It's frustrating as fuck. For having two of your most popular games, and then at the end of it, when you complete the second one, it actually kind of does you a wee bit as if you're going out into the world, and then it comes up saying like
to be continued.
At the end of a program, at the end of Marvel film, we will return, and it says it will return at Dungeon Keeper 3, and then it never happened. So fuck them.
So that's got to be so frustrating for the people that worked on it as well, the developers.
I think
it's going to be so annoying when they do all that work and it's almost done, and then some corporate arsehole just decides, "No, we're going to shelve it." It's so frustrating. Like that Daredevil game, the Daredevil game that's pretty much almost finished on PS2. It got cancelled. Like, it doesn't matter. I've been absolutely desperate for a Daredevil game for fucking years. I can't wait for the Marvel's Blade game that's coming out.
It looks very much like it's got the same kind of feel as the Spider-Man game.
Yeah. Oh, and
It's
I
very
love
much,
Marvel
yeah,
Spider-Man.
aye, it's very much a street level kind of, and it's
Hmm.
like it plays like a film summit as well.
Hmm.
I've actually not
And
played
it's
the
fucking
Spider-Man
Blade.
yet.
It's,
I definitely want a shot of that. But at the same time, I can like I kind of understand sometimes I'm shelving it. They do it with movies and that all the time. I don't
mm,
like it. I think it's bullshit. Uh, Especially when you've put a lot of time, you've put a lot of work, and
yeah.
the people that work on these things they've done really well at it. They put a lot of love into it. It's a lot of
Yeah.
their life in that the band here. But the
Yeah,
shelf stuff.
a lot of them take a massive amount of pride in
Oh,
what they
aye.
do as well. You know
But
what I
the thing
mean?
is,
Like,
by shelving stuff, they save tax. It's literally
uh,
it's a lot of it's a tax thing as well.
yeah.
They can kind of write it off if they need to save cash at the end of the year,
Hmm.
which is frustrating. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
big companies it just comes down to moolah. That's it. Comes down to cash, mate. Cold hard cash.
Cash
There's
money.
no. They keep hinting Dungeon Keeper 3.
Right.
Apparently, the Bullfrog have hinted it.
So they
They've
want to
said
resurrect
that
it.
they just keep saying that it's cancelled just now, and it is doing this cancelled. You look online, they said
Hmm.
because Bullfrog was bought out by EA, and then
Right.
EA was releasing, like say, it was aiming to release the Harry Potter and that. So Bulldog
Hmm.
basically bought our, EA bought our Bullfrog. And
Hmm.
Bullfrog had the game pretty much ready, and they were like, "Nah, we've banned you, and we think our one will sell more, so we're
Fuck
going to
off, man.
shelve it." But it is there.
Typical
As far
EA,
as I'm
really,
aware,
innit?
it's a complete game. So
Mm. That's a pain in the dick, man. Well, hopefully you'll get
hopefully
to
it'll
enjoy
get. I
Dungeon
mean,
Keeper
it
3 at
might.
some point.
I would hope that it would maybe like some levels of it would get leaked.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if somebody out there's
Aye.
like a massive
Yeah.
tech expert, then fucking get in
Yeah.
there, steal that game, and release it.
Even if they do one of these kind of, you know how you've got these Masters collections like with Metal Gear and stuff like that, stay 1 and 2, and then as part of that collection, bundle in the existing levels of 3 as bonus content.
Well, what they did was they released obviously they released Dungeon Keeper, released Dungeon Keeper 2, and then they released Dungeon Keeper Gold. I think that's the
Mhm.
deeper dungeons. That's the one that I bought recently. So
Aye.
all they did was release the first one again, but with lots more content. So they put out loads more new levels for it, and each one was progressively harder. It was a lot harder than playing it through to start to
Mhm.
finish the game itself.
Yeah.
And I think that was their way of kind of appeasing the fans to an extent. Uh,
Yeah.
but see when you see the how well it progressed for the first game to the second game, and now seeing like some of the screen grabs and a wee bit of the gameplay of the third game, it's frustrating. It looked 10 times better, but fuck it, we go with the first two games, so I'm going to be happy for that, mate. Yeah,
I know how,
that's
well,
always
mate,
top 5 games.
I will never forgive Netflix for cancelling Mindhunter. I don't know if I've maybe mentioned this before, but
Oh,
I'm pretty
you have done,
annoyed about that.
you have to,
I'm ever so slightly annoyed about the cancellation of Mindhunter,
yeah.
and also Silent Hills. Silent Hill should never have been cancelled. That was going to be the best horror game ever made, man.
No, I mean I've seen the gameplay for the demo of it, and it looks fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
And did you know that one's actually been hacked? The actual demo itself, and they found there was that
yeah.
full
They found that the mad woman was right behind you the whole time.
aye, and they found that full kind of
Aye.
world. You could go into the streets outside the house.
Really?
You right out, it's not
Oh
there,
wow.
but there's just nothing. There's nothing is active. So it's just
Mm,
it's weird. It is almost like a Silent Hill experience because it's just
yeah.
empty streets. There's nothing there at all. But it
Maybe
shows you
that's
that
the game.
aye, maybe it is. But it did show you that there was a lot more of the game made
Yeah,
than
yeah.
they said there was initially when
Hmm.
they
Aye,
cancelled it.
they said, "Oh,
Which
it's
is
only like
just
15% done or
aye,
something." Wasn't it? It was
aye.
just they were like, it's only 8%, 8% done. I think
Yeah,
something
that's
like
bullshit. That's bullshit. There was a lot more of it. There's a lot more of it that's actually done,
fuckers.
and it's just because they hacked the demo that they found it all.
Yeah,
So big corporations like fucking
yeah.
shelving stuff, mate.
Aye. Well, I'm going to talk about something that makes me slightly happier, which is Dynamite Heady. One of the best games to ever come out on the Sega Mega Drive. It's like a side-scrolling platform game where you play as like this kid Heady, and he's a puppet.
Right?
And what's unique about Heady is that he can throw his head at people. So like that's what he uses as a weapon. He kind of uses his head as a projectile. And essentially how it works is like you use his normal head to hit things and blah blah blah. You can use it to like grapple up and swing across things and all that. And you
Right.
can also get these power-ups where like you can change his head into like a hammer, or you can change it into like fireballs will go in him. There's even one head where like it switches you to this weird basketball side game, like a basketball mini game
Right.
that just
Okay.
is so fucking out of place in that game. It's unreal.
I've
But you
never
play
heard of
like
this game.
Heady.
Never heard of it. It sounds like a fever
You've never
dream. You
heard
said,
of Dynamite Heady? It was by the same. It was by the same studio that did Gunstar Heroes.
right. Right. Okay. I've heard of that.
Treasure. I think their name are.
Right.
So they did that, and they did Dynamite Heady. Dynamite Heady, I used to play it all the time. I loved it. I was obsessed with it, man. Yeah, so you play as this puppet Heady, and like basically in his puppet town, there's this Dark King puppet that wants to turn all the other puppets into his minions, and you
Right.
have to stop them basically. Because you're like, if I remember rightly, your character was like rejected and chucked in the bin. Because he was like, I don't want him as one of my minions because he's just fucking useless,
Christ.
you know, because he's like, ooh, he's to be daffy. Fuck him. So then you kind of have to stop him because you're the only one left that's got any sense. So you have to fight these bosses called Keymasters, I think they're called. And eventually you get and you finish the game. But it's brilliant. It's like an assault on the senses. Like it is so colourful and everything moves so fast and it's so loud that it's unreal. It goes for like the first 2 or 3 levels being almost nothing's happening.
Yeah.
It's like a really boring tutorial for the first 3 full levels, and then all of a sudden it's just a complete assault on the senses. It's brilliant. I love Dynamite Heady. Yeah, the get. When I was looking at, when I was reading up on it for to refresh my memory earlier, I noticed that Terry Gilliam films were a big inspiration for the visual style of the game.
It looks
Um,
crazy. Like, see the Genesis.
yeah,
I'm looking at a Genesis. There's like giant flying
aye.
baby heads and stuff. It's fucking weird.
Aye. It probably answers a lot of your questions about me, Jamie.
It probably does, mate. Aye. Yeah. I still don't know. Like, am I in your dream just now? Like, I don't know what's going on anywhere, John. So
Yeah, it's real. Trust me, I held it in my hand for many years. I played it relentlessly. Dynamite Heady, it's a
just don't
classic.
talk about your penis.
You behave. Let's send it there. Actually, yeah, Dynamite
Oh,
Heady,
what?
great
First
game.
penis joke, right? That's fair, John.
So
That's fair.
that was game names of games, the letter D.
Yep.
Let's do the close. What are we doing next week? We don't know. That's where you guys come in. Please do comment underneath the video, either on YouTube or on Facebook, or give us a message if you're listening to this in the podcast. Tell us what you want us to talk about next week, because we were going to do the Greasy Strangler, but some family stuff has meant that that's had to be postponed. So we're going to do that at some point in the near future, but we won't be able to do it next week or for next week. So messages and tell us what you want us to do instead.
Aye.
Next Monday, the 19th. I'm going to sneeze.
Oh, he's muted. Oh,
I'm not going to sneeze.
Okay.
We're 2 weeks from now, though, we're going to do names of games. The letter E, which is going to be an hour and 45-minute long special, where we just talk about Echo the Dolphin for an entire hour and 3/4.
I'll don't even cut you, John. I'll cut you. But I mean, Wannies does have to pick Echo the Dolphin. That he mentioned it, so
Would you just no? Neither of us do it. We'll just forget we ever said that, and then people will be like, "I thought you said you were the Echo," and we'll be like, "Don't we talk about?"
don't we talk about it's not a game, mate. Have you heard that Dynamite Heady? No, nobody has.
Mate, look it up. Look on the Google.
No,
It's true. It's a real thing. I don't know. Like and follow us on social media, folks. It's facebook.com/iceboxglasgow for Icebox updates, or facebook.com/icecastpod, ICEYCAST pod. And that's for the podcast page. Follow at Fright or Flight Promotions on Facebook to check out the latest updates on Soundbooth and the horror projects. Follow us on Twitch, YouTube, X, and Instagram. It's just at Icebox Glasgow on all of them. We don't really, I don't think anybody really bothers with the Insta or the Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, that much these days. It's mainly Facebook.
Yeah.
And you can watch the podcast live on Twitch as well, if you prefer Twitch for whatever reason. I think that's it. I think that's it. We'll call it a night, mate, and I'll see you soon. Have a good night, everybody, and thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.